And talking about music in a little bit. We're going to go through the drill for movement 2. I'm going to show you a few things. It seems a little bit basic. There may be a few pitfalls though that we'll try to avoid. Give you a few notes about the forms as we go through it. I'm going to go through once with this two-dimensional animation with music, then maybe go through a few sets and possibly even do this 3D view. It's not very accurate, obviously, but let's see what we can get done. Okay, let's start with the regular 2D animation and music. Here we go. We're heading through to these concentric circles. This is a little deceptive getting to this form, woodwinds. Obviously, you're the focus here. I'm going to keep good form, but this is important. These concentric circles that are moving right here, if they're not circles, it'll be very, very obvious. So we need to make sure that that's as exact as it can be. And of course, expanding to a new form, getting ready for that ensemble hit coming up in a few sets. Company front. Hold right here. And of course, we're splitting off into different areas. That's right. That's right. And here we're getting ready for the percussion feature. Of course, right now, only played by vibes, not the way it is in the show. You see percussion is our battery is up front here, and winds we're reshaping around them. We have moving back and forth here. We're getting ready for this big follow leader here. Very important that we're following exactly where the person ahead of you was. Very, very exact. Very important to keep that total formation. And right now you're only hearing the vibe as a metronome right here until this part. This is more dramatic changes, a little bit larger step size until this hold. And move here. Breaking into these squadrons, getting a little bit more detached. And of course, this we discussed this with Mr. Baylog and Mr. Herman a little bit ago earlier this week. That ending chord, of course, leads directly into the third movement, which we'll discuss in a little bit once we get the music up here. But Land of Make Believe, that's the first note of the trumpet solo, so it's very important to make sure that that's accurate when we're getting to set 23, set 24. These need to be as close as possible, really as accurate as possible in winds, making sure that we're holding out that note it's in tune and as precise as we can. Okay, so let's check out a few things. We'll use this little knob here to check out a few things. Let's go back to beginning. As I mentioned, getting into these circles can be a little bit tricky because if you are out of place, out of step, and if you're not following exactly what the person in front of you is doing, then it will seem very obvious. Circles are very tricky for drill. This is all part of the step it up process for you guys, so I'm hoping that you rise to the challenge and really make that a beautiful form going forward and backwards. Brass, don't forget that your job is equally as important for framing that moment in the woodwinds. This expand needs to be exact arcs. Very tough stuff. We're from the 25 to the 25 and all the way back 12 behind the 50, or 12 behind the back hash. So make sure that that's as close to accurate as possible. It'll take a lot of dressing, but promise you that come September, October, that's going to really pay off. So make sure that we're paying attention to that. Moving forward, going into this form, you need to check to make sure that all of these are diagonal lines. It's a little deceptive just because it looks like you should dress this way. Really, you need to dress diagonally. I'm sure that's something you guys have already beat down on the field, so happy to see that in the future. Moving forward, and of course this separation, we need to make sure that things are as accurate as possible. Going into 8, that we have this squadron and this squadron in the front, and then that battery is getting ready to move forward. Eliminated as many cross throughs as I possibly could, but there is, you'll see right here that flute 2 and trumpet 5 are going to have, they might have the trumpet in the back of the flute's head, so just make sure that we're watching out for stuff like that. Reforming for this, again, diagonals are very important. This is more of a lateral, but again, diagonal is important. All battery is reshaping in the front. Here you'll see that battery is actually separating and being divided by itself. That's an important feature. This is a big GE moment, so if you're in the general effect, a lot of that will go into it here. You'll notice that's opening up. This one, we need to make sure, I'm sure you've already worked on follow leaders before, but just make sure that you're absolutely paying as close attention as you can to how this is supposed to move. This is really just a guideline. So from 17 going to 18, it's just a guideline. See, B2, you're not thinking I'm marching directly to my space in 18, but you're thinking how can I stay as close to the form as I possibly can, looking at the person in front of me. From then on, it's just making sure that you're hitting sets accurately, just making sure that you're following the forms as close as you can.